Hello and welcome to this podcast on the retirement fund contribution deduction. Now this deduction is done after the general deduction formula and before you do your donation deduction. This deduction can only be deducted if a contribution was made to a pension fund, a provident fund or a retirement annuity fund. Now there's two steps in doing this calculation. So the first step is you need to go and calculate the percentage limit. The percentage limit is 27.5% of the greater of the remuneration or your taxable income. Now the remuneration is a definition found in the Income Tax Act. Remuneration is defined as all of the amounts received from your employer. So that would include your salary, your bonus, your fringe benefits, 80% of your travel allowance, and 80% of the use of a motor vehicle. Your taxable income that it refers to here is the taxable income before the deduction. So you need to make a subtotal before you do this deduction. So you're going to go and choose the greater of the two, multiply with 27.5%, and that is your percentage limit. Your second step is you take your total contributions that are deductible, but you limit it to the lesser of the percentage limit, which was done in step 1, or 350,000 Rand. Now the easiest is just to go and do an example of this. Olivia contributed 58,000 Rand to a retirement annuity fund for the year of assessment. She made a contribution to an RAF, so she's entitled to this deduction. Remember, you can only get this deduction if you actually contributed to a retirement fund. Her taxable income before her retirement deduction amounted to 234,000 Rand. Her remuneration is correctly calculated as 250,000 Rand, and you need to go and calculate Olivia's retirement deduction. We know that the taxable income before this deduction is 234. The percentage limit is 27.5% of the greater of the taxable income before this deduction, which is 234, or of the remuneration, which the question told us is 250,000 Rand. So the greater of the two is 250,000 Rand. So our percentage limit is 27.5% of 250,000 Rand. Our second step is we take our total contributions, but we limit it to the lesser of the percentage limit, or 350,000 Rand. Now we know that the percentage limit we just calculated was 68,750, and 350,000 Rand is a given. So the lesser of the two is obviously 68,750. Now the contributions made was 58,000 Rand. 58,000 Rand is less than the limit, therefore you can go and deduct your full contribution. What if the contributions were 70,000 Rand and not 58,000 Rand? Then your deduction would be limited to the limitation of 68,750, and you could only deduct 68,750 because your contributions is more than your limitation. Remember, a general rule is that you can only deduct as much as you contributed. So if your contributions is less than your limit, then you would then deduct your contributions, your full contributions. However, if your contributions is more than your limit, you can only go and deduct your limit. What happens between the difference between your contribution and your deduction? So in other words, in this case, you could only deduct 68,750, but you contributed 70,000 Rand. Then what happens to that difference? It is carried forward to the next year of assessment, where you would take it into account as your actual contribution, and then you do this whole calculation again. I hope this podcast helps you to understand the retirement deduction for an individual. Bye-bye.